Ongama, many thanks for making time to speak to us. Let's start this with the slogan, which was quite interesting. Let's grow South Africa together. Tell me, what do you make of this? It's always a good place to start when you do pick a few words from the slogan. I think Donald Trump's being the best. Make America great again.
Thank you, Arnold, and good afternoon to your viewers. So South Africa is facing a challenge of growth. Our economy is not growing at levels that we would like, and the little growth that we have is concentrated. And because if you look at our inequality, it means while we may have a relatively higher per capita income or middle income country, it is not shared. So growing it together is a great slogan because we are facing a challenge of growth as a country. Increase the pie and share the pie. That's where the challenge is.
Right, I've just actually been corrected by one of the directors that the Make America Great Again was initially Ronald Reagan's, and I checked, it's actually from 1980. Let's move on one of the very contentious issue here that is mentioned, empowering women. Now, this is one that is very interesting for me because the statistics do show that South Africa's femicide rate is 5 times higher than the global rate. Is this yet again just electioneering, and there are hardly any key protocols that are set to be amended or worked on or infused in the Constitution to show that women are actually being empowered?
So I didn't get to understand what that statistics you were quoting, how you were linking it to your question, but what I appreciate about the emphasis on women empowerment is also the security aspect in this manifesto, which has been emphasized. Indeed, South Africa, women remain largely excluded and they suffer oppression all 3 times. Black women, they are black, they are women, and they get violated. So that's a challenge, and it's important that the ANC does build the momentum it has been making around women representation in parliament, but also there's an obligation which is beyond the ANC really. It's a wider society problem as to whether the environment, the political economic environment and social is created to enable a better and a safer place in which women can realize their potential.
Let's talk about an elephant in the room in all sizes and aspects here. Former President Jacob Zuma, right after the 8th of January speech, the anniversary speech, suddenly we're hearing lots of praise for the former president. This amid the claims and corruption charges that he's actually facing. Is this actually expected, or is it just because of his strong base in KZN? It's of course KwaZulu-Natal.
So the challenge that's facing the Ramaphosa leadership is this. One, the wider South African public and perhaps the investor community is expecting to see an ANC that is moving away from the Zuma era. There's the era in which state institutions were eroded and they repurposed for private interests. So the discomfort when Ramaphosa or the new leadership brings Zuma on board in these events, and the popularity that he seems to be enjoying is understandable because it creates the impression that the ANC is not following through in terms of with reading the country of the Zuma years and the influence of Jacob Zuma. But my view in terms of how things had to be played in KZN by the new leadership is that if you had an election manifesto or the January 8th statement in which the president was booed, or it went chaotic because the two camps, the supporters of the two camps fought, it was going to be bad PR for the ANC and something that they would struggle recovering from for the rest of the election campaigning period. So I think Cyril made a tactical gambit that said, bring him on board, appear to be working with him so that you can go over this last hurdle where the communication or the body language of the mass support base of the ANC is going to matter. Because after this, there's not going to be much events where the supporters are gathering in masses. If they happen, it's not going to be in KZN. So he had to play this game such that he could have a successful launch in which there's no chaos and he's not booed. And the message that is being created here is that while Zuma is a preferred and loved candidate in KZN, Ramaphosa is not unwanted. If a contrary message, because of a reckless approach to handling Zuma, was conveyed, it would have been very difficult to recover from it.
Mtimka, just before we move on, very briefly, just touch on the issue of post this 2019 election. Do you see a tougher Ramaphosa coming out maybe to scrutinize lifestyle choices of politicians in the ANC? Very briefly on this.
Yeah, so the manifesto is very clear on that, and also the process of finalizing the list of people that are going to go to parliament. I think his hand will be slightly stronger. In fact, let me not say his, but his leadership's hand will be slightly stronger because the wider support base of the ANC, which are not carrying card members of the ANC, want to see that the people that are going to go to parliament are people that are credible. So even though South Africa uses a closed party list system, but the public, there's going to be a lot of media coverage about who ultimately makes it into the list. And if the ANC is not careful about making sure that it's capable people who have got integrity, it's going to flounder. And I think post the list process, Ramaphosa can have a strong hand because he will only have to worry about an NGC after that. Right. And I think by then he would have been able to consolidate his power.
Right, briefly before I let you go, let's talk about the South Africa Reserve Bank and this issue of nationalizing. Personally, I don't think, I want to hear your views on this. Is this something that is actually pressing? Because you actually do have to pay off shareholders who already are holding a stake in the Reserve Bank as it is. Is this something that is actually pressing, or is it more playing to the tune of the EFF?
For me, there shouldn't even be a hoo-ha about whether or not the Reserve Bank is privatized. The independence from a monetary policy execution point of view, it should be the issue in my view as far as I'm concerned. Reserve banks all over the world, some are mainly privately owned, and there's a lot of that's written about how tyrannical that has been throughout the world, and few families are mentioned in terms of those. So whether or not it's privatized or it's within government, it's not the issue. For me, is how likely is monetary policy going to be abused when the Reserve Bank is controlled by the state. And I think we've established enough in culture of independence that may not be an issue at all.